Hello guys, this is Edward from HKExcel. So welcome to this video. So this video is about IB Math Standard Level 2020 tips question because you know that it's your last exam in your IB for the O syllabus because later on the IB will change it to like Math A and Math AI. So in this video there will be like two parts. So part one I'll be mainly focusing on logs, functions, tricks, and optimization tips questions that I think might show up in your coming exam. After you do all this questions will be like good for your knowledge, okay? And part two will do a few more questions and also cover like different topics. So if you find part one is helpful, then obviously you can download part two for free, okay? So I'll show you the link later at the end of the page. So let's start the first question. So this is a typical log question. Solve log 6x minus 3 plus log 6x plus 2 equals to 1, right? So solve the unknowns, right? So that means you need to find x value. So very simple, because whenever you see log a plus log b, then you can just apply the simple rule, which is log a plus log b equals to log a times b, right? So we have this two number right here. So obviously you can group this two together. So what you do is you can just group the x minus 3 and x plus 2 together. So basically just x minus 3 and then times. So right now you can look at this. Times x plus 2, close the bracket, right, equals to 1. So this step should be quite easy for you guys, but the next step is most students find it confusing because they don't know how to get rid of the log 6. So the very simple rule to get rid of this, like fast trick for you to memorize, is that whenever you see log something right here, so you can see 6 right here, yeah? So you can just raise it to the power, the whole thing raise it to the power, and then you add 6 like in front of it, right? So add 6 in front of it. And then what we do is, raise it to the power. So if you add 6 on the left hand side, obviously you have to add 6 on the right hand side as well, right? So, and also this, raise it to the power. Yeah, so I'm not going to explain the details like the concept behind right here because I have a full lesson on logs. Otherwise it would take too much time for it. So whenever you do these steps, then you can just cancel out the 6 and the log 6. So what's left is just x minus 3 times x plus 2 equals to 6. So does that make sense to you? And then what you do is just multiply all this and expand the bracket and try to solve the equation, right? So I'll do it step by step for you guys. So x times x is x power of 2, right? And then the next step is plus x times 2, which is 2x, and then minus 3x, and then minus 3 times 2, which is minus 6, equals to 6, right? Okay, so next step is that you just group all the things to the left hand side, solving the quadratic equation, right? So that is quite simple. And just group it together, so minus x and then minus 12 equals to 0, right? Because you move the 6 to the left hand side. So what you do next is you just need to solve the quadratic equation right here. So what you do is you just think of the breakdown of 12, which is 4 times 3, right? So obviously you have to be negative 4 times positive 3 in order to get negative x, right? So this is just cross method. So this is too simple, so I won't explain it in details. So it will be just x minus 4 times x plus 3 equals to 0, right? Okay, so what is the answer for that, obviously? So when two brackets multiply together equals to 0, then either this bracket equals 0 or this bracket equals to 0. So x is equal to 4 or x is equal to negative 3. Okay, but there's a trick right here because we have two answers right here, but can we say x is equal to 4 or minus 3? Okay, but obviously it's wrong because if I put negative 3 right here, you always remember log inside the bracket, it can never be 0 or a negative number. Okay, it can only be positive number. So if I put negative 3 right here, then you have negative 6. Yeah. So and this equation will be undefined. So if you don't believe me, you can just put log a negative number in your calculator. You will see error. Yeah, so then obviously you have to reject this answer. Okay, so then the answer is 4. Okay, let's move on to the next question. So next question is function. So this is typical like inverse function questions, and I think most students will be able to solve A and B. So their question usually is the domain and range. Yeah, so today this video I'll teach you to solve domain questions, but of course we need to do A and B first. So A is very simple. F of gx, what does that mean? So you just need to put gx G3 first, so you find the value of this and then you put it back into the fx, right? So let's find gx. So gx is equal to, G3 is equal to how many? So is equals to 1 over 3 minus 4, right? We will look at this equation. So what do you get? So you will get 1 over negative 1, which is negative 1, yeah? So and then we just need to put this number, negative 1, back into the fx, right? So f negative 1 is equal to 3 times negative 1, right? Because we have the fx right here. So which is, that is the answer for A. And then for question B, so find inverse of gx. So how do you do the inverse question, right? So it's very typical questions in the IB exam. So inverse just means swap xy. Okay, so very simple. So what we have right now is gx equals to 1 over x minus 4. So obviously gx is y and then x is just x, and what we do for the inverse is that we swap the x and y. Yeah, so then now it becomes x equals to 1 over y minus 4 because I'm swapping my xy, and then y, we assuming that y is equal to g inverse of x. Okay, so do you get the idea? So let's work on this equation right now. So it's very simple. So just need to rearrange and then make y be the subject. So we move it over to the left hand side and then move the x to the right hand side. Yeah, so then we have y minus 4 equals to 1 over x. Okay, it's very simple. And then y is equal to 1 over x plus 4. That's it. So the answer for the inverse will be equal to this. Yeah, 1 over x plus 4. Very, very easy. And then the last question, C. So how do you find a domain? So what does it mean by domain? Domain simply just means the range of x, okay? Or you can say, if you find range is very confusing, then you can just think of values of x. What we can sub in for x, okay? Is very easy. So if you look at this equation, 1 over x plus 4. So whenever you put in 1 over, for example, 1 over 0, what happened in your calculator? 1 divided by 0, then you will get an error, right? So obviously x can never be 0. But what if I put like x equals to negative 1? I can still get a value, right? So I can still get the answer. 1 over negative 1 will be just negative 1. Can I put positive number at the bottom? Of course, yes, because for example, 1 over 2. So what is in your mind is that what x can be? Obviously, x can be anything, but x cannot be 0, right? So x cannot be 0, but x can be any other real numbers. Yeah, so that's how you represent it. So cannot be equal to 0, then we can just use the symbol. So which is, yeah, so not equal to 0. Okay, I believe you know that. And then this one you can just say the x is the element of real numbers. So real numbers. Okay, yeah, so that's it. And for trig questions, yeah, so trigonometry questions. This is a calculator paper. So calculator paper. So which is paper 2. So find the solutions of equation 4x equals to cosine 4x equals to cosine 0.5x for x is equal to between 0 to pi. Yeah. So whenever find solutions, that means find the value of x. So how do you solve this? So many students try to solve it by hand, but actually you don't need to do that because it's very complicated. And usually this kind of questions in math center level, it will always be for this kind of question, it will always be calculated calculator paper. So what you do, the correct way to do it, because this question is like 3 to 4 marks, yeah, so in the IB exam. So what you need to do is draw the diagram and then just find an intersection point. It's just that, because if you use the wrong way, if you try to solve it by hand, it will be very time consuming. So basically what you do right here is just plot the graph. Y1 is equal to cosine 4x, and then another equation, cosine 0.5x, and then you find an intersection point. So the trick is, if that is paper 2, and then you see this kind of question, right? So you use the graphic calculator. So it can be like Texas T184, or it can be Casio model, or it can be like a other model for your IB exam. Yeah. So after you draw the diagram and then trace the intersection point, but you will see like the graph will be continuous, right? Because a trig equation is always continuous diagram, right? So you will have unlimited intersection points. So that's why you have to set the x range from 0 to pi. Okay, so I have already done the answer for you guys. So basically you plot the graph and then you draw it out. Remember, in the answer, you don't just don't state the answers. You have to draw the graph. But it doesn't need to be on scale. Okay, so it's just the graph looks similar to your calculator, the graphic calculator one, and then you have to trace the intersection point. And list out all the answers. So I have already done it for you guys. So the 0, 1.4, and then 1.8, and then 2.79. So you will have 4 answers. So for this questions, it will be like 4-mark questions. Yeah, so you get that, okay? So 0 to pi is 3.14. So check your answer, which is within 0 and 3.14, because 2.79 is smaller than 3.14. Yeah, that's it. And then the last question in this video, so it will be optimization. So this is like one of the hot topics in differentiation. Yeah, but it sometimes show up in the IB exam, maybe like 3-year ones. Yeah, so now you will be able to master this question, because it's usually like 5-mark questions in IB exam. So the area of the rectangle garden is 100 meters square, and the garden is enclosed by 4 fences. The horizontal one costs, so we have like rectangle, and then the horizontal fences cost like $15 per meter, and then the vertical one is $30. Find the minimum cost of the garden. Yeah, so whenever you think of minimum or maximum, you have to think of differentiation. Yeah, so differentiation, whenever you have differentiation equals to 0, then that means max or mean, right? Because when you look at the graph, for example, like this, and the maximum point, the slope is always equal to 0, and the minimum point, the slope is also equal to 0. Yeah, so you apply this concept to this kind of question. So the next thing you need to do, which is the harder point, you have to come up with the equation. So which is why many students fail this kind of questions. You have to come up with the equation yourself. Okay, so what I mean is that you have to draw the diagram right here, which I've shown you right now. So you have the rectangle, and then let the horizontal be x and then vertical be y. Yeah, or the other way around. So it doesn't matter. So as long as you can solve the equation. So now what we do is we have the diagram right here. So we know that the area is 100 meters square. So how do you calculate the area, which is x times y equals to 100, right? So whenever we have 2 unknowns, then we need 2 equations to solve x and y, simultaneous equation, right? Yeah, so we have the equation 1 right here, and then how about the equation 2? So equation 2 obviously have to base on the cost. So minimum cost, so let C to be the cost, equals to, so when you build the fences, you have to consider the money, right? So horizontal ones cost $15, so horizontal is x, so then you just need to think of, we have x, we have 2x, and then times $15, right? Because right now we have one x and then it will be $15, and then this one we have another x costs $15, right? And then plus how many y's, how many vertical right here. So the vertical one costs you like $30, yeah? So which is 2y times $30. And try to simplify this equation. Then we'll have c equals to 2 times 15, that is 30x, plus 60y. Okay? So does that make sense to you? And then what we do is we will have to, because right now we have 3 unknowns right here, and then we have 2 equations. So we just need to rearrange this equation. We make y be the subject, okay? So y equals to 100 over x. The reason why I want to do that, because I want to sub this back into the y right here, because I don't want to see y, okay? Then we'll have this equation. Do you get that? Okay, am I doing too fast? So you guys all follow, right? Good. And what you do is you will have to solve this equation, right? So of course, let me multiply this in. So then we'll have like 6,000 over x and then plus 30x. Yeah? So apply the concept, because we are doing the minimum cost of the garden, right? So if you differentiate the c dash or c prime, so then what do you get? It will be equal to 0, right? Because the cost, the differentiation of the cost equation has to be 0 if you want to find the minimum cost of the garden, right? Because even the question asks you to find maximum cost of the garden, then maximum maybe profit or something. Next time you will know that I will need to differentiate the equation and then make it equal to 0. So when I have this extra information, then I can solve the equation, because all I need to do is just differentiate. So is equal to c prime is equal to 30, because this is just differentiate that, we will just have 30 right here. And then this one will be how many? Because it's 60 over x. So when I have 60 over x, that means 6,000. 6,000 times x power negative 1, right? So that will be easier for you guys to recognize. So I have this. Then what I do is, so this is just side notes for you guys, okay? So how do I differentiate this equation? So just need to put the negative down, and then we'll keep the x, and then power minus 1, right? So then we will have power negative 2 right here. And then we just make the whole thing equal to 0, yeah? So, and obviously, we can solve the equation. So we just put the 6,000 to the right-hand side, yeah? And then we move the x over. So, yeah, I'll do step by step. 6,000 and then x power negative 2, yeah? So that's very simple. And then what you do is, because this is 1 over x power 2, so we just make it to the left-hand side. So we move it to the left-hand side. All right? Okay. So x power, so I'll jump a little bit step. So that equals to how many? That equals to 6,000 divided by 30. So that will be 200, right? Yeah. So finally, you will get the answer of square root x is equal to plus or minus square root 200. Yeah, square root 200. But obviously, because x is the length, right? Yeah, so length cannot be a negative number, so it will be positive square root 200. So which is the x value, and then finally, you just need to put in the square root back into the equation right here. Yeah, then you will get the answer, because we have the cost equation. So let me do it for you guys. So the x, you just substitute by square root 200 right here. Yeah, so because I don't have the symbol of square root right here, so I believe you understand that. And then plus 6,000 divided by square root 200. Okay, so just plug it in your calculator, then you will get the answer. Alright, that's it for part 1 video, and I hope you guys find it helpful and also learn something in part 1 video. So if you're interested in getting more help and more videos, you can go to part 2 and go straight to this link. Then you can download the free videos and also free notes, okay? So I'll cover more questions and harder questions in part 2. And if you're interested in getting like face-to-face help with our IB expert, you can sign up your trial lesson with us. So you can go straight to this link. Yeah. So just click this link and then you can sign up our free trial lesson if you're Hong Kong students. Yeah. So what you can expect in the lesson. So basically, our IB tutors will, with over 3 years of experience, will guide you through like in the face-to-face lesson, which will be 1 hour, and you'll be given full concept notes and exam questions for a specific topic. And also each lesson will go through a lot of exam techniques and also exam questions, just like right now. Yeah. And we'll guarantee you find the lesson helpful and also 100% satisfaction. Okay. So you can just go straight to this link, and then if you're a Hong Kong student, you get a free trial lesson. Yeah. And if you're overseas students, you can also sign up at this link as well, and our staff will arrange with you and check the time zone with you guys within 24 hours. And here is just some proof of our previous students who joined our program. So you can see that they all got at least 1 grade improvement, and on average they got at least 2 grade improvement after joining our program. For example, like this student, level 4 to level 7 in math studies after 9 months of our lessons. And also like this student, he got 5 to 6 in his math SL exam. Yeah, you can see that. And then also we have another student here, 45 out of 45, and another 44 out of 45 who joined our lesson before. So over 86% of students report to boost at least by 2 levels or more in total. Okay, so I hope our lesson will help you achieve the same as well in your IB exam. 2020 exam is your one last final exam. So if you screw it up, then you will have to go through the new curriculum. Okay, which I don't think you want to like learn everything again. Yeah. So yeah. So if you're interested in getting extra video, go to part 2, and then if you're interested in getting like in-person help, then you can go to this link.